Right, we're doing session 2 or assessment 2 of CHCLEG001. So that's our ethical unit. So last week we talked about the assessment 1, which was knowledge questions. Now today we're going to focus a bit more on the real stuff, the real what ethics is about. So we're going to go through the questions of our case study. So it's quite an interesting case study. For those of you that read the case study, it's a case study of Jacob and Marianne. So let's just give you all the details of Jacob and Marianne. So, Marianne Smith and Jacob Smith, mom and daughter. Mom's 30, mom and son. Mom is 37, she's female and Caucasian. Daughter, it's son, Jacob, is 13, male and Caucasian. So these two, this is your clients. They come into the session. Okay, so what are our issues? Jacob, age 13, has been brought to counseling by his mother, Marianne, due to some concerning behaviors. Jacob has been becoming increasingly withdrawn and sullen, both at school and at home, for several months. He will not speak to his mother and locks himself in his room. Sometimes he does not come home for 3 or 4 hours direct after school with no explanation to his mom. Marianne has to his whereabouts. Okay, I've got no clue what that is. He used to socialize during lunch break, but recently he spent it alone listening to music on his MP3 player and drawing in a sketch pad that he carries everywhere with him. So that is basically the story of this kid. Is actually he was very active, he was involved, and suddenly he's starting to withdraw. Okay. After Jacob refused to put the sketch pad away during class, his teacher confiscated it and was disturbed by its contents. The book was full of violent cartoons that Jacob had drawn of his classmates and teachers being hurt or killed, as well as lyrics from songs about death and dying. The book also contained angry scrawling directed at his mother and notes such as, "I wish everyone would die." David is the 47-year-old counselor. That's David, who sees Marianne and Jacob for the first session. As they get talking, it becomes clear that the family has a lot going on. It sounds like that, sure, if you look at the case study. Marianne is going through a nasty divorce from Jacob's father, who left Marianne for a younger co-worker. Jacob's father is a problem drinker who has verbally been abusive towards Jacob and Marianne. However, Jacob has referred to his mother as that and apparently blames her for the father leaving the family. Right, so this is quite a complex case, or not that complex. I mean, it sounds like a lot of cases that we work with, to be honest. That sounds like, so it's a mom, dad, only one child, breaking up. So the case is obviously the aggression, angry stuff happening there. So let's just go and explore this case a bit, but also look at the ethical part of this case. Okay, so after the separation, we continue. Marianne could not afford to keep living in the family home, so she and Jacob have moved to a small apartment in the outer city. Unfortunately, this meant giving up the family dog, which Jacob loved clearly. Jacob says he is very angry about this. In fact, he's angry at everyone. So another thing too, the kid lost 2 things. He lost his family home, he lost his security, lost more than 2 things. His security, plus he lost his dog. So that's 3 things that he lost. Marianne appears very attractive, appreciative of David's willingness to help the family, and as the sessions goes on, her behavior actually becomes quite flirtatious towards him. So she's starting to flirt with the counselor. She does things such as referring to him as darling, becoming giggly, reaching over and touching his arm or shoulder as he makes a point. And as they conclude the session, she thanks David profusely and gives him a kiss on either side of his cheek. David finds Marianne quite an attractive and engaging woman, and although he is a little taken back by her behavior, he does not say anything. In fact, he feels quite flattered. So what do we call that? So that's a dad, and that's a dad's new girlfriend.
Oh my God.
Over the next week, Marianne makes several phone calls to David saying she has forgotten something he said in the session, or that she needs to update him on something Jacob has said or done. These appear to have just been excuses to call and talk to him. She has also gotten hold of his email address and sends him several emails, signing off with XOXO, and leaves a number of urgent messages with his receptionist. When David returns her calls, the issue turned out not to be urgent after all, and could easily have waited until the next session. So this is basically what we have here. Question number 1. Identify 4 legal ethical requirements of the clients and the counselor in this scenario. Include your response to the legal or ethical standards, include laws, codes of practice, or principles that are relevant and how these apply to the situation. So, I read you the case study. I read you the case, what's happening. David, Jacob, the son is Jacob, the dad, the counselor, the mom. So you've read all this. So you need to name out of that 4 ethical issues or ethical requirements, and explain it. Why would this be relevant or apply to, or how can you apply this to our case study? So one of them, which I'll just name one, the others you can do on your own, is
Transference.
no, that's not the ethical thing, that's a personal thing. Boundaries. So boundaries. Who needs to set boundaries? The counselor. So the counselor needs to set boundaries. So boundaries would be your first thing, and then you say how these legal and ethical standards would have been applied. Yeah. So he would have had to set a boundary. He would have had to say to her, listen, we are not talking about, you're not phoning me unless you want to make, and anyway, if you want to speak to me, you wait till the next session. If it's urgent, which I normally do with clients, is if it's really urgent, like a suicidal case, here are the suicide lines and that sort of stuff. So there's no real reason why you need to phone me.
Nature in the beginning anyway, that he said nothing to.
You should have stopped that immediately, yeah.
And how do you stop that?
You stop it, you say stop it.
Okay,
You just literally say stop it. You stop it. I mean, you don't allow for the kissing on the cheeks or that sort of stuff. Don't call me darling. Please don't call me darling. My name's David.
Could you stop the actual session you're having because of that?
You can. You can say, sorry, we have to refer you to my colleague.
Or you could do that after if she keeps it.
Yeah. If she keeps it,
you readdress the boundaries,
yeah,
which should have been set in the first
yeah,
place.
I had a client.
You've done that, and she still keeps going.
I had a client who constantly phoned me about stuff. Okay, and the excuse was to confirm the dates. Which you don't have to do that 5 times a week. I mean, if we made an appointment for Friday, it's set for Friday unless I can't make it or you can't make it. Then it's one call or one text. He phoned me every single day. So one day I said to him, I didn't respond to his messages or his phone calls. I didn't answer it because I knew it was him. And then one day he phoned me from a different number. And then when he phoned me from a different number, I said to him, dude, you can phone me, you can text me once a week to confirm. If you do more than that, I will cancel the meetings and you can go and see someone else.
Did he talk about his problems, or was it just literally to do that?
No, just to do that.
So why did you do that over the phone and not when he came to your next session?
Because I was on the moment.
So what about her getting hold of his email address?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
it depends on what email address it is. They're not very clear in this because it can be his email address at the practice.
Is that privacy?
There's still boundaries and breach of boundaries.
I would say if it's his work email address, I won't say that's a problem.
Well,
You normally get their email address.
Yeah. But normally be on the business card or
Yeah.
or something like that. But if it's his personal private one, I would say there's a problem. Okay,
So
so
I don't get there's boundaries, yeah, but I can't. I don't know what else it would be.
okay, well, one of them. Okay, there's quite a few.
Is your duty of care?
Why duty of care?
Because of the way that the son's thinking, in the way of
Oh, yeah.
where the thoughts are going.
But he hasn't breached the
It
duty of
doesn't
care.
breach
No, it
anything.
hasn't
There's no
breached.
real reason. We need to be aware of this, but I mean, so yes, I would say duty of care. Yes, be aware of what's happening.
It's not a breach though.
It's not a breach.
No, he hasn't breached it, that's that concern.
Right?
It's a breach of ethics.
Yeah. I would personally add confidentiality.
Yeah, that's one of the.
Which I do with my clients is that I would say to my client that if, especially when it's like in this case, mom-daughter, mom-child thing, is I would say to my client that if your mother phones me and tells me something about you, and I also tell it to I tell it to my client and to the mother or the father or whatever. So if you phone me and tell me something about your son during the week, I will tell you in the session. I will say to the son, your mother phoned me and your mother said the following. I will reveal whatever you
Because
tell me.
really, the Jacob's your client, not the mother.
In this case, both is because it
Because of the age.
because the session says both of them are in the session.
Yeah, I know both in the
So-
session, but I didn't know if it's the initial one,
No,
and then you do.
this is not because of age. This is because of I think it's
So
a
all
family
this-
type of counselling.
All this flirting is going on in front of Jacob.
It happens in front of Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I got the impression that he was seeing them separately, but he was their son.
Yeah. I get the feeling this is a family thing because of the divorce. So I
Is it
think
both?
they're all together. It can be separate, but I get the feeling they're all together.
They're together, yeah.
That would be annoying, Jacob.
Yeah, it will be annoying. No wonder the kids are upset.
Yeah.
See, the mother wasn't going there for counselling for herself, she was going there for Jacob, the son.
So what we have here too is okay. I think Andrea, you mentioned that transference.
Yeah, counter transference. Yeah.
That's not really part of your ethical whatever things. It's a thing we know about. Okay. So that this is actually what's happening is like she is transferring because obviously she's not getting what she wants from a man from her husband,
Yes.
and now she's getting it from David.
Yes. Well, she's wanting it.
She's wanting it because David is listening, David is caring, but we don't know what's happening in David's life because suddenly he likes this
Yes.
because it
Yeah,
says
but
there.
it says there.
So
He
that's
doesn't do
really-
anything
But isn't that
because he finds it
ethically-
quite
Yeah. So
flattering.
It's
Isn't
flattering,
that an
yeah.
ethical standard
so
where
he's counter transferring.
Yeah.
So we've got transference and counter transference happening
Yeah.
there.
So you
Yeah.
could put that in.
Isn't
That's
that
what I
an
was-
ethical dilemma of where, like you're not
That's
supposed to take gifts or you're not supposed
Yeah.
to have,
Transference.
coffee with the client, but
Yeah.
because he's not saying he's like it and he's flattered by it, does it come into an ethical standard?
It can become problematic. So I would have taken that to my supervisor personally. If that happened to me and says like, you know what, my client is flirting with me and I find it flattering, I will take it to my supervisor.
But we're not in there with that. It's
Right.
not legal and ethical.
It's not illegal, ethical, but it can become.
Okay.
To become a buddy.
It's not now, but it can become. Because we can overstep boundaries. That's why it's important to set those boundaries. Okay. There's a very, very good book at Quran Books. It's quite an old book. It's called Boundaries, the Book of Boundaries.
I used to have that.
And it's a brilliant book. It's got everything: boundaries in love, boundaries in relationships, boundaries in. So it's called the Boundary Book. It's quite cheap. I think it just came out in a new print.
Do you know
So
the author?
I don't know the author,
I'll have a look on it.
but it's boundaries. So there's different sorts of boundaries. So that's a good book.
Would safety come in Jacob? Into that?
Not at this stage.
There's been no, like you had, there is like a duty of care.
Duty of care, that's what it
Yes,
says.
yeah,
more,
yeah.
isn't it?
More duty of care.
And this is only their first
Because
session,
of
so he
all
might not
those
know everything.
Yeah.
things he's putting down which are
Yeah.
violent.
Yeah, this is not necessarily the first session because we're talking about a few sessions now.
Oh shit, what's this
Re-
first?
Yeah, but there's lots of stuff happening, so there's obviously been more than
Yes.
one session
Yeah.
because we're continuing on this, and she keeps on phoning and texting and emailing.
Yeah, what would that, so that's harassment.
Yeah, you just have to set a standard.
Because he calls her making excuses and the emails that are signing off with kiss and cuddles.
Yeah, so you need to say to her,
There's still a
there's a
boundary,
boundary
but is
thing.
there anything else
And you
that
have to
that go
basically
under?
say to her, if you do that again, I'll have to cancel. I have no other choice but to cancel my counselling relationship with you guys. You just have to be very
But
firm.
this seems to be more of a session between Marianne and David.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Because Jacob's been left out of it completely.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
And that's everything that's
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
It's more about her.
And it sounds like she actually took him to counselling because of the son, because
Yes.
of
Yeah.
his withdrawing, with the anger issues. So there's a lot of stuff happening here. So it's quite a big can of worms that you can actually, when you start opening it up. So it takes time.
He's not really.
So I'm going to move on to the next question. So that's basically
So
what
is it mainly on her?
it's both.
It sounds like it's mainly on her though, because
Yeah,
it's
no,
all about her.
Yeah,
More
but
than
it's
the
both.
David.
It's all
But
three.
yes.
Remember, there are three people in this counselling relationship. Okay,
Yeah.
Jacob, David, and Marianne. So there are three people in the counselling relationship. Okay, next question. Identify 4 rights and responsibilities of the client and the counsellor in the scenarios. Rights and responsibilities include your the responsibility of the counsellor in this situation to ensure the delivery of a legal and ethical counselling service. So rights and responsibilities. So if you obviously go to your code of conduct, your code of ethics, either APA or ACA, you'll find rights and responsibilities. You look at those and you see which ones of those are actually for the situation. So I mean, one of them is to deliver a good service. So is David delivering a good service? That's the question. How good is the service? You know, that's sort of a safety or whatever. Okay, so you find them in your code of conduct, code of ethics. And this is almost a repeat. Remember, we learn by repetition. What are the rights of the clients and how should the counsellor establish and communicate these? So what are the rights of the clients and how should the counsellor establish and communicate these?
Well, that's right at the beginning, isn't it?
Hi,
my name is, and it's what you.
Yeah, and normally we don't really communicate it to our clients, because normally it's already given to them when they sign the contracts in your room.
The scary thing is half the time they sign it already.
That's okay, you're covered by it anyway.
100%.
So it's just
Filling it with
Yeah.
confidentiality,
Yeah.
what the
yeah.
council
No-
process is
Normally
gonna be.
normally all the little things, but your normal thing is you normally just mention the confidentiality thing in the session anyway, that they know that. But it's so there's just I found a few counselling stuff there. So that's sort of some of the rights and
Yeah,
things
why not?
on there. But it's all in the code of ethics. It's all in
Yeah.
either ACA or PACFA or the Christian Association. All the associations got the rights and responsibilities. And the other thing is, how should the counsellor establish and communicate these? Okay, so he needs to it's either in a written form or explain them to them. Okay. The counsellor can also ask them that you read the rights and responsibilities, or that you read the
And
you
you
know?
understand it.
yeah. So you can ask those things. Okay, next question. Question 4. Analyze the scenario in relation to the following. So we've got the scenario. I read you the scenario. You have it on paper too. What legal, ethical issues of risk exist in the situation, and what strategies could be used to address them? So what risks are there in this situation? Legal and ethical issues.
There's a risk that Jacob will withdraw even more after witnessing the flirtatious behaviour of the mother.
Yeah.
More aggression could come out.
Aggression.
What about self-harm?
There is a risk of self-harm. He
Or harming
hasn't,
someone else.
or harming someone else. That's more. There's more a risk of harming someone else.
Yes.
Because of the fact that it came out a few times that he is angry.
Yes, what
So
he's like,
he
and
is
that's
going into
angry.
his
and at the
Yeah.
beginning at school.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
he was
So,
doing
so
at
there is
school.
an anger issue. So, what the legal issues? So, you just need to work out for yourself what are some of the legal issues in relationship to this. What can happen, and also if there are some breaches, and what can you do regarding those things. Okay, so you don't have to write a thesis, but you can think of the most. Some of them are very.
How many words do you want?
Some of them are very clear. 5,007 are very, very clear. So yeah. The next one is what issues could exist in this situation to value differences, personal biases, and how could David resolve this? For example, David might have strong religious beliefs that are different to the client's, or he may be strongly opposed to divorce. Okay, so what issues could exist in this situation? What if your counselor is strongly opposed to divorce?
He used to, being a counsellor, he has to be aware of his own biases and values.
Be aware of your own biases and values. Be aware. What if the counselor doesn't like teenage boys?
Well, that's not right.
Well, he
It's
needs
like you
to
find like
still
these.
be aware of his own. It's his profession.
You
You
must.
have no choice. You've still got to put all that aside. You're not meant to walk in with
If
your
you
own
can't,
eyes.
you talk
Yeah.
to the supervisor. If you can't resolve it, then you
Be
refer it.
aware
Then
of
you be aware
of yourself. Self-awareness is a key. So David needs to know this. David also needs to be aware that he's actually feeling very, very happy about the client flirting with him. So yeah, might be strongly opposed to divorce, but he's flirting with a married woman. That's also not. That's another issue which is happening there in the room. Okay, how could David deal with Marianne's neediness, ensuring all legal and ethical requirements are met? How can he deal with Marianne's neediness?
He could, what's the word?
Use the word no.
No, but
He
you'll
could
set
set
boundaries.
In a different
Boundaries.
way.
But he
Boundaries.
may also be able to
He
he may also be able to refer her to another counsellor,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that was the other thing.
dealing with the divorce and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because he's dealing with Jacob
And
what's
Marianne.
going on at the school, and Marianne. But her issue is the divorce, and
Yeah, I would split them up. If I was
Yeah.
the counselor, I would split them
Yeah,
up.
they'd have two.
I would continue working with Jacob, and I'll move it to someone else.
Yeah.
I'll move it to my colleague in the same room, in the same company.
which
But
practice.
those boundaries very
Yeah,
clear.
so they can have sessions at the same time, so that it's not, so book the session same time she goes to, and I would prefer to have her see a female counselor, because of the fact of safety reasons.
Yeah.
Just because she's dealing with and that's more, and I would say Marianne's transference is more the fact that she's actually got daddy issues. Because I think if you go back into her history, you will find that she maybe
Yeah,
didn't
that-
have the relationship with the dad that she wanted, and suddenly she gets this older man, because he's older than her, he's about 10 years older than her, and he's actually listening to her, he's giving her his attention, and suddenly she gets what she wants.
So you don't need to reject
by
your
having-
childhood from the father, and the husband's rejected because now she's got.
Yeah, so she's got, we don't know how old is her husband. Is her husband older than her? They didn't say that in the case study. That she went out and actually got married with the first man that actually gave her attention. What's happening there? So there's lots of stuff that we can explore. There might be a reason why she's just one of those people that's really flirty with everyone.
Or she's just
Yeah, I was about to say.
the S word, won't say it.
How that?
Or she's very needy.
But having two separate counsellors too, you're going to get more out of Jacob on
Yeah.
his own than
Oh,
what you will
for
with
sure.
his mother.
For sure. If my mom sits and flirts the whole time with the counsellor, I'm definitely not going to speak up. So I would.
But half the time, usually, as you said, they need separate. You come together for
Yeah.
certain times, so you have
Yeah.
your own. And They
Yeah.
need to group together.
Yeah.
All-
Yeah.
Because he's got issues with his mum anyway,
Mm.
So
so
he's not going to open up.
he's not going to
And
open up.
Okay.
when this
Okay.
happens, the confidentiality of the mother ringing,
Yeah.
nothing can be told to her because she's now another counsellor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's strict guidelines of the
Yeah. I will still tell him if mom phones,
Yes.
and I will tell her. I'll tell him. Okay. Question 5. Consider issues of ethical practice for the following. As a minor, what are David's legal and ethical
Jacob's.
It's
rights?
got Jacob.
What?
What are Jacob's? You
Alright.
said David.
Oh, sorry, Jacob. I thought I said Jacob.
No, you said
No,
David.
you said David.
Okay, well, I meant Jacob.
Okay.
I read Jacob, I said David. So, as a minor, what are Jacob's legal and ethical rights in this situation? How can David help to uphold these rights? What's a kid's legal and ethical rights?
He's still got his right to his privacy and confidentiality.
Yeah.
Which is broken when mom keeps on phoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's also got a right to self-determination, he's got a right to personal
Duty of care.
choice,
Got a right to be heard.
quality of
Yep.
care.
Got a right to.
Understanding.
Yeah. So there's
How old is he?
13.
13.
Oh, he's 13. Oh.
Include an explanation of how David could help Jacob understand these rights
Explain them to him.
in an age-appropriate way. Okay, so you need to explain them more like in
You
a
have to get into their face and tell them face to face, don't give them a book.
get
Is there
to the
different rights
level.
for children to the what is it, just general?
It's general. You just need to
So there's not.
make sure they understand it.
It's basically just breaking it down for them.
Yeah, breaking it down.
Yeah.
Make sure
Explain,
they
explain.
understand it. Make sure they know what's happening. What are the circumstances in this situation that may override confidentiality, and how should David inform clients of these?
Okay, so if Jacob is going to harm himself or
Someone
someone
else.
else,
Yeah.
his mother,
Yeah.
His father, the girlfriend.
So how can you override confidentiality? Yes.
you just
Yes, you
explain it to them that
Yeah.
that is when the confidentiality.
Or if David hurt, or if Jacob hurt himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you would explain all that to him when he first goes
Yeah.
in with
But
the
so you would have
network.
explained that in the last question, really, anyway.
But
Yeah.
would you, because he's 13, would you every now and again, like, just revisit that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he might bring it
Yeah.
up too.
Or sometimes when you get to a really serious point where you know like we're on a break, we're like almost on a breakthrough point,
Yeah.
I would normally say to them, just remember whatever you say is confidential.
Yeah.
You know, or I would normally just tell them again because they're kids.
Yeah.
But I normally do that with adults too.
Yeah.
Like if I feel like I'm really going to have a breakthrough with this client on this level,
Yeah.
and just to make sure that they know this is confidential.
Yeah.
And the other time would be if it's being a teenager or youth, half the time they're going to have their barriers up for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You could reassure it each week when they
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
last week I said what we're going to do, we're not going through you.
Yeah.
So just to, also that helps with
Yeah,
build
yeah.
the rapport with them too.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah. As a counsellor, I would also, I'm just going to throw a rock in the bush with this one.
No, there's a truth.
Sorry, you don't know that. That's an Afrikaans, South African saying, but yeah. So I'm just going to say something with this. Like, I wouldn't, as a counsellor, when I've got a 13-year-old boy who withdraws, who sits in his room, locks himself in his room, I wouldn't to be very worried.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's normal teenage.
That's what I was thinking.
That's like if you look at teenagers in depression. If you look at all the signs of depression and you look at a normal teenager who's got nothing wrong with him, they're so depressed actually if you tick up all those boxes. That's just their normal behavior. So be careful not to, when you get a teenager, be careful not to always immediately diagnose that you're depressed. Okay? Because they might just be in a stage where, I mean at the moment my eldest son is like he's turning into a horror. It's like I can't speak to the kid. I can't. He's always grumpy. He's always in his
How
room.
old is
He's
he?
always like. He's now 17. He's now suddenly he's like this like
So your oldest, isn't it?
my youngest.
Yeah.
My youngest. Like,
You said your oldest.
oh, my youngest. Yeah. He's a lovely kid. I mean, it's like
He is.
and he's always been. But the last war, it's like who on earth are you?
Maybe
It's
he
like,
wants to find
it's
himself.
okay, but that's normal teenage behavior. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the kid. That's just how they are. So this poor Jacob is a teenager. He goes into this teenage stage. His mom and dad's divorcing. We don't know. It sounds like it's a bit of a nasty divorce where they are actually throwing mud at each other the whole time. He lost his dog. He lost his house. The kid is in a state.
Because
And he's
he's
lost his dad.
Yeah.
from his father who drank all the time.
Yeah, and it's
That
been
could
abused.
Be all coming back.
Yeah, and then
The new
there's
stepmother is so much younger.
a new girlfriend and whatever, and like
And
yeah,
these pictures might not really be anything, it's just a way
Yeah.
of expression.
yeah.
So
So
would there be
just
questioning ways you do that to find out if it's depression or whether it is a teen?
I think you do as you build
I
rapport.
think you keep an eye on them and watch
Yeah, as you
their
build rapport
behaviour.
with them, I mean, you can't really diagnose.
You
Say,
look for signs as you
but
go
as
on.
you go on and say, hi, how have you been? What's going on? That sort of stuff.
You'd understand their norms.
Yeah. And also be aware of how they dress. Like if the kid starts wearing long sleeves and stuff like that,
So
it's like
start changing
Or
them.
smelling, or smelling.
Also their hygiene.
Hygiene.
hygiene, smelling, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
Although
with the pictures too being so sadistic,
yeah,
that's the
but,
thing that you really have to
Okay.
focus
but
on.
rather
Often that is with young teenagers.
but to be honest, rather have pictures like that than have him do that to people.
Yes.
But then if you could find
That's
out
it, could be an
with
expression.
those pictures,
The way it
if there was a meaning to,
Might be his anger.
Yeah.
his anger towards
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
But not all kids draw either.
But the ones that do draw, you
I
can't get
had
them
a
to
client.
talk about
I had a
it.
client
Yeah.
who would, when I was counselling at schools, he'll come in. He had his own book, and he'll come in, and because he's so upset, and I would not dare talk to him because every word is a swear word. So I would give him a book. He's got his own book, and he would draw. He drew horrific pictures. It's like stabbing and stabbing and explosions and whatever.
So what was the
And then
underlying
after
problem?
I finished with the client, I will then say, well, I'll take him and do stuff. I always did stuff with him after he drew the picture. So we'll go and kick a ball or do stuff. And then after that, we'll come and we'll discuss the picture. And then it's like, okay, it's fine. And then they'll go off. He just needed, he actually drew those pictures to get rid of his anger. So instead of taking the anger out on someone, he actually took out the anger on the picture.
Like they do with the writing a journal.
Yeah.
That's
But instead of a
actually
journal,
quite
they draw.
that's a very, for a child that age, that's pretty profound to do that, to know not to hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just because he had a great counselor. So
Could I relate that to a similar situation where a person that I know
Sorry.
won't fix his car, but he can sit there and do drawings of cars with wheelie bars and big wide
Yeah.
tyres and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
He won't pick up a spanner and do anything.
yeah, it's sort of
Doesn't like the idea of
It
that.
there can be a link to that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Sort of escaping out of the reality and putting your anger or putting your issue onto. Right, next question is, what are the risks if David, the counsellor, does not deal appropriately with Mary Ann's flirtatious behaviour?
He can lose his job.
Oh yes, he can lose his job.
Yeah.
What if he decides to engage in a relationship with her?
He can lose his job.
He can lose his job. Okay.
And it could have effect on the
What could be the
organisation.
legal and ethical consequences?
She could actually turn around and sue him.
Or husband can sue him.
Yeah.
Her husband can turn around and sue him.
Ah,
How does that work?
Because
I know it's illegal at first, but I'm
he's
asking.
still married to her. So it's like you can sue if someone breaks up your marriage, you can sue that person.
Really?
You can.
Even if they whack your knee.
The thing is, yeah, that's right, because even if you find out your spouse is having an affair,
Yeah, because
you
you're
go for the divorce, you
Yeah,
get mainly win everything because of what
Yeah,
you've done.
yeah. I mean that can play a role in the divorce too. So
It's a breach of ethics.
plus we have a kid. We have a kid under 16, so there's
Yeah.
also going to be like issues about the child care and all those things, and so it can be. How could he prevent this? Just don't fall for it.
Okay, with that, do you get banned, like a certain legal ethical ban of being a counsellor, or how does that work? If they do fall
Unfortunately, at this stage, no,
yeah.
because there's no legal.
Okay.
I mean, it's like any
There's no legislation.
any person can counsel at this stage, but it's coming in. It's coming.
I'm talking if they got into a relationship. There's no,
No, not really, not really. But obviously, if he's got his own practice, different. But I mean, yeah.
Isn't there 2 years that if you've had
it does
time
say
to
next
not
year.
have a relationship with them within 2 years of
the session.
That's not set in stone.
No.
just
It's
That's
just
not
that they
set in
have to do
No,
it
it's not.
once
I
a
know.
year.
It's not set in stone. But hopefully that will come in when PACFO gets what they want to have happen. So, right. Okay, Marianne.
So that would also become under the law too, your counselling law.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's
Can you, sorry,
yeah.
I'm jumping to the next question.
Yeah.
No, I'll shut up.
Just
I'll wait.
yeah. So it plays a role. Okay. So, but part of it is you stop it with first of all setting boundaries.
Set the boundaries.
Set the boundaries. Set the boundaries. That's all you need to do is and that's why the role of your clinical supervisor is so important. It's like you need to have those sessions. I know it costs a lot of money to have a clinical supervisor. I mean, it's like we're talking about 120 a session, an hour,
Yeah, but that's only after how many hours of counselling?
about 10 hours of counselling. So after about 10 clients, you see
Not a lot.
you
Wow.
go to one. Yeah,
That's not a lot, eh?
it's not a lot, but it's good for you. I mean, if you charge, what do you mean? You charge 120 an hour for 10 clients. You can easily spend 120 to go and see
Yeah,
your
it's better than mainstream in a way of going
Yeah.
to clinical.
yeah
So
yeah
it helps you anyway with your professional
Definitely, yeah.
counselling and keeps your clients.
yeah
So
right. Waiting for the curtain.
Very nice little slide there.
Thank you, that's fine. Explain what the counsellor needs to do to minimise the impact of potential dual relationships.
Can you explain what a dual relationship is again?
No.
I forgot.
it's a relationship like what's
Yes.
What we just
like
covered.
A dual relationship is when you have a client,
Yes.
but you know the client from somewhere.
Ah.
Yeah.
So
Like you
you-
did the church.
with me, I counsel at a church. Every single one of my clients are dual relationships because I see them at connect groups, I see them at church, I see them always.
And you have a contract. with
Yeah,
them.
but church one was quite easy because they know that. But when you get to a situation where, let's say, your child is friends with your client's child, okay, and then it's like, okay, you need to tell your client. So you need to say to your client, listen, I realize that my son is
Your son.
playing with your son, or they go together, they go to gym or whatever. You need to reveal that. So if you know your client from somewhere else or via someone, not necessarily know them. Like I had a client whose mum and dad or my wife and I are friends. So I've got this client whose parents are our friends.
Okay.
That is such a good relationship. But I had to reveal it. First of all,
Yeah.
before I took them on, actually I first spoke to my supervisor. I didn't even go afterwards because they said there's a reason why they asked me to do it, because you didn't want to go and see someone else and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. But before I took that on, I actually went to my supervisor and I said, do you think I can do this? Okay. A while ago I had a case where people were involved in an armed robbery. One of my clients, my client that I have, was the victim in this armed robbery, and then another person who I know, who I later found out, was actually the robber. So the robber came and he asked me if I would be his counsellor. So I had the client and I had the perpetrator, both of them.
So obviously you referred the robber.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because the fact is that
The fact is you had the other one first anyway.
I had the other one first, but the thing is, being a counsellor for the robber, I would have been summoned to court because part of him coming to counselling is to show when he goes to next year, when he actually goes for sentencing, to show that he's actually trying to rectify.
Rehabilitate
So
himself,
I
yeah.
would have to go, and I actually have to go and testify actually against my other client.
Yeah.
So I just immediately said no, and I referred him to other people because so there's a lot of stuff you need to take into consideration
Have to testify for your client as well.
for my client as well.
In that
In a case like
situation,
that?
the victim.
If I need to, then I will.
A lot of
I'll-
time it's a letter.
But it probably won't be.
Have you ever had to attend court before?
No.
Yeah.
No.
If you had the
Luckily
one
not.
that did the crime
Yeah.
before you had the other one as a client,
Yeah.
would you have kept him on or still transferred?
I would have kept
What about where it
Yeah,
comes
that's
into
right,
the
yeah.
cause of the safety of the victim?
the victim was not in harm.
Okay, how long do you keep case notes for?
7 years.
They're talking about 7 years or so.
Yeah,
Something
something like
years.
that.
Yeah, so that's, yeah. Right.
Where do ethics come in here? When you know that someone's, the perpetrator and someone's the victim,
Yeah.
where do you stand in the middle?
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
Well, I'm there to help whoever needs help.
Yeah.
So, and if the perpetrator came to me first, if what I'm doing with him helps him, that'll be good. But in this case, the client came to me first, or
The victim.
the victim, and I've been seeing the victim about 6 months before I saw the other person. So,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
So what's
Marianne
the
says,
relationship in that one?
What?
Hang on,
There
we
was-
haven't done the question.
There was no dual relationship in that one.
We haven't done the
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
Marianne
That's
says
the
take 2 tickets.
To me, it was just the
Oh,
ethical
oh.
thing of accepting gifts. You're not meant to.
There's no
No.
dual relationship in that one.
You put in then,
There's
you
no
just
dual
don't accept
relationship on this.
Yeah.
certificate. You don't accept gifts or just write that. There's
No,
none.
that's nothing to do with that. This is
No.
to do with
Dual relationship. There was no dual relationship in that one.
because they know each other, but that's mother and son. It's
Yeah.
not.
They come together. It's fun. So,
Well, Marie, 3 words.
okay. So next question. David attends a community
Oh, boy.
fundraiser. Okay. David attends a community fundraiser, which Marianne also happens to attend. Marianne spots him and comes over to him. They talk briefly about the event and make other small talk. Is there something wrong?
No.
No. Absolutely nothing wrong. They talk about the event, the fundraiser, they talk about small talk. When they start talking about the case or
Yes.
Dave or Jacob,
That's different.
that's the problem. But if you see a client out there and you do small talk, like how are you, nice weather we're having, there's
that's
nothing
not
wrong
wrong.
with that. But
As
if
long
it's
as
like,
you don't go into
but
the
if-
But you
case.
know,
if they were doing small talk and say, hey, oh, why don't we go and have coffee? Then we're starting to, hey, it's getting dangerous now.
Yeah.
But do you know what I found working in the community? Like if I see people that I've worked with previously, I'll go, oh hi, how you going? How's things been? You know, that's it.
Yeah,
But
and it's all
other
good.
workers I've noticed, they will totally ignore them
yeah,
and they will walk.
yeah.
Which
I think you can still be friendly.
yes.
Friendly,
Yeah.
greet them, whatever.
Yeah.
Because talking about the event and small talk is fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's fine. Small talk is the weather and
I've had
hey,
to see you here.
I went to that store and that great
Yeah.
great cupcakes or whatever. But when you start talking about the case or start saying, okay, let us go to that one together, or let's go on the ride together, whatever, then we say, hey, there's a problem. So at this stage, there's no issue. Okay, analyze the scenario in relation to the following. What issues of legal and ethical risk exist in the situation? What strategies could be used to address them? And I think we've talked about it before. Boundaries,
Oh, yeah.
supervisor, your clinical supervisor plays a big role. That's basically it, saying no. And saying no is part of boundaries.
Yeah.
How David should communicate the referral issues to the client to ensure that referral process are being completed in line with organizational, legal, ethical requirements. Okay, so if you're going to refer Marianne on, how are you going to communicate that so that you stay legal and ethical?
If that was me, I would say, basically, I think maybe it'd be good for you to talk to somebody about the divorce and what you're going through and how you're feeling.
I think so, yeah.
While I work with Jacob,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then we can come back to
yeah,
it.
yeah. I prefer to work with Jacob,
Yeah.
but I've got
A
let's
colleague.
say my colleague Susan. who's really great with women, especially what you went through
Yeah.
with the DB and all sorts of stuff happening.
And then after all
understanding
this,
of
we
it.
can get back
We
together.
can get back together, whatever. So you just need to say that, listen, I feel threatened by you and I can't work with you. Don't say stuff like that.
No.
So
Yeah, you can, but in your head.
yeah. And you've discussed it
It's not
probably.
that.
You've probably discussed it with your supervisor, but you need to do stuff in line with the organisation, and also it still needs to sound ethical.
Yeah.
And you still got to have that empathy and that anyway
Yeah.
too. You've
Yeah.
got to.
And you also want to help them. You want to
say
help
the wrong
Jack.
way, the boss is gonna go, they're not going to go anywhere
Yeah,
else.
you want to help them. I mean, it's like, because otherwise you're going to get these cases which say, oh, I went to counsellors and they don't work. I mean, they only tried one counsellor and it didn't work. I mean, it's like, try another one or try a third one till you find someone that actually helps you.
It's got
We
the
don't
red
always
ball.
get to connect with every
Yes.
person. Same as you as a counsellor, you won't always connect with your client.
That's right.
And
I
if
find
it
with
doesn't
you,
work,
they
then
connect more with
refer on.
faces.
Hmm?
Faces.
Yeah.
You do. Like they'll go through, for example, some of the youth I know. Oh, I don't like that. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
I like the looks of that one. They'll
Yeah.
go more on that than reading
Yeah.
credentials.
Yeah. Okay. David, in the process of formulating the documentation for the referral, it is not entirely appropriate for this situation. Describe how David could improve his documentation to suit the situation. So,
Write his own case notes on another page, adding extra information.
we're doing our referral documentation.
So you just say that she was involved in a domestic violence situation.
Just like you write out any referral.
Hey,
Like
sorry.
you write out most.
You write out the
Yeah.
details for
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
just
like
basics.
another client, like your
Just the
transfer.
basics.
Like,
Just the basics.
yeah, a normal we're referring on to.
Not like stuff like she flirts with me and whatever.
No.
So it's just
Basic.
the basics.
the
Just stay.
factual why
Yeah,
she
stay
said
with the facts. Go stay with the facts.
Just like we, as you said, we do with our normal referral. I'm going to
Yeah.
refer you to this for this help.
Yeah, this help or that help. Yeah, just stay with the facts. Describe how David would communicate other changes to work practices. Other changes to work practices. Describe to other situations that this might apply.
Speaking to the supervisor and then having training. Asking
Definitely
for
needs training, yeah.
training.
David needs training. And David needs to see his clinical supervisor. Remember, there's a difference between a supervisor and a
Yeah.
clinical supervisor. So maybe if he works in an organization, there's a supervisor, he might have chats with the supervisor too, but also he needs to have chats with his clinical supervisor.
Yeah. And he needs to organise his own training.
Yeah,
Not his own, yeah.
Yeah, he needs to. And
Yeah,
this
that's true.
is a great saying from Benjamin Franklin that says, when in doubt, don't.
Yeah.
So when you've got a client and you doubt if it's ethical or not, rather go no.
Yeah.
Right? No. When in doubt, don't. And that's the whole assignment. That's the whole thing. So so ethics is with us, and ethics is actually, I know it's in general a boring unit, but I think of everything, this is the most important one of all.
Yep.
Because this is where we actually can rise and fall as a counsellor is
Yeah.
in your ethics.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know,
Because it is bring it all back again.
Yeah, and-
you know,
and
it's
step-
importance.
statistics say that one happy client will tell 3 others. One unhappy client will tell 20.
Yes.
So
Yes, it's a perception.
So if you have a bad experience with a client, especially ethically, there's about 20 plus people that will know about it. So
That's
just
right.
be aware of that and be aware of your ethics. So we're going to take a break now.
Yeah.